We have breaking news from Ottawa. It involves that golfing outing involving two senior military officials and the former Chief of Defence Staff, Jonathan Vance. Vance is currently under investigation for alleged sexual misconduct. The CBC's Ashley Burke is on the story and joins us now. So, Ashley, what's happened?
Well, Andrew, the Lieutenant General Mike Rouleau is resigning from his role as the second-in-command of the military. This news that he's stepping down comes just 2 days after Global News and the Globe and Mail were first to report that he went golfing with the former Chief of Defence Staff, General Jonathan Vance, who, as you just noted, is currently under a military police investigation over claims of inappropriate behavior with two female subordinates, claims that he denies. Now, Rouleau just issued a statement. He is the Vice Chief of Defence Staff, so he has authority over the top military police officer who has authority over military police that are investigating Vance, raising a lot of questions about this being a potential conflict of interest. In a lengthy statement that Rouleau just released, he apologized, and he said in this particular case, he was reaching out to Vance as a retired member of the Canadian Armed Forces to ensure Vance's wellness. And he called it a private activity and that they didn't discuss the ongoing military police investigation, but he now understands that this could lead to what he called a perceived conflict of interest. He says that the military police are independent and he didn't issue any instructions or guidelines on this case, and he claims that he has no power over this military police investigation, that he will be stepping down from his post. Now, he was supposed to move in a couple of weeks, so next month, to become a special advisor or a strategic advisor to the acting Chief of Defence Staff, Lieutenant General Wayne Eyre. That is not happening anymore.
And Ashley, how have the alleged victims of sexual assault in the military been reacting to all of this? The golfing outing, and of course, this news that he is resigning is very new.
For the golf outing, they have been reacting in disbelief. There was an apology yesterday because the head of the Navy was also there golfing with them. He issued an apology yesterday, and in doing so, he said that he fully accepted responsibility and accountability, but he also said that he understands this sends the wrong signal that he was publicly supporting Vance, and admitted that this was a move that would be seen as public support for Vance, who is under investigation. I just got off the phone with a military expert who studies sexual misconduct and how military forces, including Canada's, handles these type of cases. And she said, quote, "This is a brazen display of invincibility and sense of a lack of accountability." Especially since right now there is so much attention on this, there is so much light on this issue, that the military's leaders should know, everyone is watching keenly right now, that this really was, to have a public display of this kind of camaraderie is incredibly problematic. It raises questions about this investigation, how independent it will actually be, and certainly taints this investigation into Vance.
I mean, Ashley, to say that the Canadian military leadership is in crisis, I think is an understatement. I mean, can you just kind of paint a picture of where we are right now? Because it's almost hard to keep track of the number of top military officials that have either stepped aside, resigned. It's just, it's like whiplash.
Yeah, the military is deep into this crisis. I would say more than 6 months. So we have been keeping a tally, and there are roughly more than half a dozen senior leaders who have been swept up into this military sexual misconduct crisis. There's a series of them are under investigation for claims of their own. There's also some, for example, a story we did about, a top senior leader with the Special Forces who wrote a letter in support of someone convicted of sexual assault, supporting them. And there was a huge amount of fallout over that, even questions about how the acting Chief of Defence Staff, Wayne Eyre, handled that case in particular. And there were allegations or concerns within the ranks and a lot of division over concerns. He didn't take that case seriously. So I think what you're seeing today is that there had to be sort of a strong outcome and stance in this particular case. And that's what we saw with Rouleau losing his position.
And what would you say, Ashley, what kind of pressure, more pressure, could this put on the defense minister, who, of course, oversees the military from a civilian perspective, because there have just been so many questions directed at Harjit Sajjan? Well,
yeah, today we saw opposition leaders already trying to pull in the defense minister, Harjit Sajjan, into this case and saying that they have concerns about him remaining in his role. They feel that the government should be taking a harder stance and doing more to get the situation under control, and also talked about sort of the disbelief around this story going public about this golf game. The Deputy Prime Minister, Chrystia Freeland, commented this morning saying that she was surprised by this and also concerned by it, and she felt that it sends obviously the wrong signal, but wanted to reassure members of the military that they are taking this issue seriously, that there is money in the budget to make steps forward. We know that the government's also announced that they're going to be doing another review, the second in 6 years, into sexual misconduct in the military with a former Supreme Court judge, and has also created a new in-house position to deal with the culture inside the military.
Because, Ashley, we have been certainly focusing on the top brass of the military, but these allegations, there are hundreds of allegations from the lower ranks also of victims who have made allegations about the military, not just the top brass. So this seems to be from top to bottom. There are very, very serious issues with the Canadian military, and the leadership, it's just not there. It's either pushed aside or forced to resign or forced to step aside. Is there a sense of urgency that this needs to be handled?
We've heard certainly a sense of urgency. The acting chief of defense staff has come out and said, look, we have to take this seriously. The time to act is now, and said they needed to do so with humility, that this next report that comes out with a series of recommendations, they need to follow them and put them in place. The last report that was done by former Supreme Court Justice Marie Deschamps, it highlighted a number of key recommendations, and we recently heard from the Deputy Minister that was treated more like a checklist than it was actually treated as real change, and that needs to change this time around. So certainly we are hearing those kinds of statements from the government, from the military, that they are taking this seriously. But for the victims of sexual assault that we've been talking to, they certainly are feeling incredibly discouraged right now, and say that they've been, some of them, working for years to try to get their case dealt with in a serious way, to try to get an outcome or justice in their cases. And seeing this news about this golf game was just they've described it as such a slap in the face to them that it's hard to really comprehend or believe that there's going to be meaningful change moving forward.
Is there concern in the rank and file just of the Canadian Forces, those that aren't bringing complaints, but are just concerned that all of this is happening and it seems to just keep happening? Are there concerns around that you've heard around recruitment of women into the Canadian Forces given all of this?
The acting chief of defense staff has come out and talked about the fact that they have seen a drop in the recruiting numbers, that they are seriously concerned about that. That's something that they need to turn around. He's also said that he's concerned about the credibility of the military moving forward, and that if they're not able to get a handle on the situation and make serious cultural changes, that they won't be able to properly defend the country, because they won't be able to recruit the types of people that they need to take part in the forces. And my colleague Murray Brewster's also talked about how this could become a national security threat because of some of those reasons. So certainly that is something that is at top of mind right now.
Mm-hmm. Very, very serious issue and concerns that you're raising, that the military has raised, and the victims of these allegations. Ashley, thank you. The CBC's Ashley Burke, live in Ottawa.